Dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yup, what's good, original crew, man? We're back on the channel. We have top 3 photos with disturbing backstories part 7. Okay. All right.
Part 7.
That's
Top
what I said.
3. Top 3 photos with disturbing backstories. Part 7.
Okay.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right. Hey, man. With that being said, before we get into it, y'all, make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go. If you want the first part, all you got to do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's visuals.
Lock it in with a thumbs up.
I was trying to remember last week's joint. And it, like I was like, what's that last week? But I remember what it was last week. I know for a fact you don't remember. If I had a hard time. Sorry, y'all. We've been sick, so
It's a little warm.
it's been a minute, so trying to think on what you've recorded. But you ain't recorded in a while. You remember the last week joint? The 3? I remember the last one of the.
The last 3.
I'm saying I remember the third one out of the 3.
I know.
But from last week was the one where the guy he had went to my old college.
Oh, yes.
I mean, his brother was at the same university at the same time.
Yes, I remember now.
And you know what I'm saying?
I remember, babe.
Yeah. But I don't remember the other 2 stories. Y'all, it's been
I got them on my little notes somewhere. But yeah.
Hey, man, with that being said, before we get into it, make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below. Where did that? Down below.
You already know what it is. Have we? Also, if you enjoyed today's visuals, I don't know.
Look at it with a thumbs up, babe.
My bad. If so, let's go. Let's check it out. Let's see what it's about. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get it.
Today, I'm going to share with you 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I'm going to show you the picture or pictures that are famously associated with that story. But before I get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please cut all the Waldos out of a Where's Waldo book and give it to the like button for their birthday. Also, please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly
you be able to
uploads.
spot them, though.
All right, let's get into today's story.
Check it out.
In March of 2015, 22-year-old Sailor Gilliams and her good friend Brendan Vega, who was also 22, decided they wanted to go hiking. Now, they were both highly inexperienced hikers, so when they were looking in the area for places to go hiking, they were looking for novice trails, things that they would be able to manage. And they thought they had found one in Santa Barbara, California. And so they headed off in that direction and they took off on this particular trail. A little ways into their hike, and they started to feel like, man, the terrain here is pretty treacherous. This is way more difficult than we were expecting when we looked at the map. And as they continued and they're climbing over these huge boulders and it just seems totally like an advanced trail, they start to wonder, did we veer off the trail? Worried they might be lost, they turned around and began backtracking, hoping to find the trail and find some landmark that would allow them to confirm they were on the right trail. As they're backtracking, not only do they not find the trail, but they don't find any trail. They've managed to go completely off the path and are now in this kind of random boulder field that they have no idea where it is on the map. Navigating this terrain in the daytime with light would have been difficult even for an experienced hiker. But now it's nighttime, they don't have flashlights, and they're jumping boulder to boulder, and Sailor at some point loses her footing and falls and fractures her leg. Brendan rushes over and tries to help Sailor stand up, but she can't move. And so Brendan tries to put her on his shoulders and starts walking with her. And that works for a little while until they're passing by this waterfall and they fall off of it and they come careening down. They smash onto the ground. They survive the fall, but Brendan now has a broken elbow and Sailor now has a broken ankle on top of her broken leg. Sailor's in excruciating pain, and because of this fall, there's just no way Brendan's going to be able to lift her back up and keep walking. And so the decision was made that Brendan was going to go try to find help on his own, and that she would stay here and continue to yell for help in hopes that someone might hear her before Brendan got back. He takes off, and as soon as he's around the corner and gone, Sailor begins screaming for help, and she would continue screaming for help all through the night, well into the next day. About 24 hours after Brendan had left, he still had not returned. And at this point, Sailor's in and out of consciousness. She knows that she's going downhill quickly unless someone finds her. By the following afternoon, Brendan is still not back yet. So laying face down in the mud with flies buzzing all over her head, she was helpless and trapped. And there was nothing she could do but wait until either a miracle occurred and someone found her, or most likely she just dies. So at the same time that Sailor and Brendan are going through this horrible ordeal, 3 totally unconnected people decide they want to blow off work and school and just go escape into nature. And so they settle on a hike that would bring them to a waterfall in Santa Barbara, California. Even though this waterfall was a popular tourist attraction, it was very difficult to get to it. It basically required 45 minutes of almost uphill climbing across boulder fields. Very dangerous, and it's not something for a novice hiker to be doing. So they reach the parking lot, they take off on this hike, and when they're just at the base of the waterfall, instead of taking the main trail up to the top, the 3 hikers decide, let's actually go around off the trail to this pocket of boulders over here where there's a couple freshwater pools that have formed underneath the base of the waterfall. So they leave the main trail and they're climbing over these huge boulders. It's very dangerous. And at some point, one of the hikers starts taking pictures as they're kind of going across these boulders. Through the viewfinder, as they're taking pictures, they notice something out of the corner of their eye that's in frame. It was like this red flash of something. And so the hiker puts their camera down and she looks down where she sees this red, and she can tell right away that it's someone's hair. It's a girl's dyed red hair. And it was Sailor. The hikers went down to Sailor and they called 911, and they came in, they airlifted her out of there, and Sailor would actually make a full recovery. Unfortunately, Sailor's friend Brendan did not make it. They found his body about 100 meters away from where she had been laying. After the ordeal, the woman who was taking those pictures and had spotted Sailor out of the corner of her eye, she went to her camera and was flicking through some of the pictures she had taken during the hike. She had inadvertently taken a picture of Sailor before they had found her. So had it not been for these hikers being where they were and taking those pictures and noticing her red hair, this picture almost certainly would have become the last picture of Sailor Gilliam's alive.
Yep.
Wow.
That's sad. Rest in peace to Brendan.
Dang, bro. That's sad and tragic.
Right. Hey, you stay here. I'm gonna go get you help. I'm gonna return. Just continue to try to like scream for help. And now you're gone.
100 yards. That's not that far.
That's not far. That's sad.
Jolie Callan was this little 4'10", 18-year-old girl from Alabama who...
Hold on. What's her name?
Jolene.
Jolene? Jolene?
Jolie Callan was this
Jolie.
little 4'10", 18...
You know I'll make up a name in a second.
Is it Jolene or Jolie?
It's Jolie. Jolie.
How you gonna spell it?
J-O-L.
You would spell it like that?
Or with an A.
With a what?
With an A, but E.
Nah.
I said
spelled it like this.
L-E.
L-E-I-G.
That's cute. That's cute. That's cute.
I was gonna put J-O-E-L-E.
See, long as I know what to say, I ain't trying to do all that.
She got her mama and daddy name. That's all.
That's it.
Joe and Lee. What we gonna name her? Jolie.
Jolie. Okay, but let's go.
Yeah, that's all.
Jolie Callan was this little 4'10", 18-year-old girl from Alabama who who, despite her tiny stature, had a huge personality and was incredibly popular. Everybody seemed to love this girl. In 2015, Jolie had just graduated high school and was planning to move away from her town and go to college outside of Alabama, and she was really excited about it. But she had a bit of a problem because she had this boyfriend named Lauren Brunner, who she had repeatedly tried to end the relationship with because he was so possessive, but she hadn't been able to successfully break up with him yet. Every time she tried to, he would threaten that he was going to hurt himself or that he was going to hurt her if she ever left him. And so she never quite followed through. But with college on the horizon and to her what felt like this fresh start once she left that.
Don't ask me details. I just remember the picture.
No. I think I heard about this when I was in college.
Yeah, I know about the story, but I can't remember details. But I definitely remember the picture.
He a sick motherfucker, ain't he?
What we about to see?
Alabama, she finally pulled the plug on her relationship with Lauren and made it very clear that they are done. And she was firm on that decision, even when Lauren did start lashing out and yelling at her and pleading with her and doing everything he could to win back her affection. But it just wasn't going to work because she had moved on. For weeks, Lauren was trying to convince Jolie to change her mind, but again, Jolie just stayed firm on her decision. And after quite some time, it seemed like Lauren had finally got the message because his messages and cries for her to change her mind had stopped, and there was finally a little bit of distance between the two of them. On August 29th, 2015, Lauren would break that silence and would reach out to Jolie and ask her if she wanted to go for a hike with him, simply as friends. Jolie was naturally hesitant about this, worrying that, this hike as friends could very quickly turn into something more that she didn't want, but she did want to remain friends with Lauren. He was very important to her, and so she reluctantly agrees to go on this hike. After Jolie responded to Lauren that she was willing to go, Lauren was really excited. And so he posted on Instagram this picture of himself looking, I guess, excited. It's hard to tell from the image, but the caption basically said that he was excited about going on this hike with her and that things were, quote, looking up. At the same time, after Jolie had given that answer to Lauren, after she had agreed, yes, I'll go hiking with you, she texted her friend jokingly, if something happens to me, you'll know who I was with. The next day on August 30th...
Oh, it is spelled... Well, you spelled it.
If something happens to me, you'll know who I was with. The next day, on August 30th, Lauren picks up Jolie and he begins documenting their trip on his Instagram page. Jolie gets in the car and he takes a picture of her and he captions it, "On our way to go hiking." The second image that he uploads is of Jolie walking her dog Kiba in a parking lot. It appears that this lot is at the base of the hike they're about to go on. The third image shows Jolie standing on a rock overlooking this forest, and she's holding her dog Kiba. And it's clear, based on this picture, that now they've actually begun the ascent up this trail. The fourth and final picture that was uploaded to his Instagram page shows Jolie standing on a rocky cliff, and she's holding her own camera up and she's taking pictures out over this valley. And the picture was captioned, "Jolie the photographer." Immediately after this picture was taken, Lauren would shoot Jolie twice and push her off of that cliff. He was sentenced to 52 years in jail and bragged to the inmates he was with that if he couldn't have her, no one could.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that story.
I remember the story, yeah.
It was a very viral story.
That was sad.
Yeah, I knew it had something to do about the cliff, and that's where I was like, oh yeah, I remember it, because I was like, I do remember that they went on a hike in the cliffs, and he ended up pushing her. I forgot that he shot her first.
Yeah.
That's tragic, bro. All because somebody wanted to do, because it's more deeper to it. Because I think she was looking for like an outlet because she wanted more in life. And I think, you know what I'm saying, he really didn't have anything going for himself. Really, you know what I'm saying? One of those situations where like chicks be dating these dudes in high school, the dude's still hanging around town. He probably graduated a year or two ago, and
I'm about to graduate. I'm about to get.
I'm trying to do more. I want more.
New,
I want more for myself.
Yeah,
and he like, I don't. So you think you better than me because I'm not doing much? Yeah, like that's your choice. You making the choices not to do anything with your life.
Right.
Like. You could tell he's a sick ass individual to take all those photos, upload it, Because you always had this in your mind to do in the first place.
Like documented the entire thing, basically.
Her last array. Yeah, make you happy. You a sick ass in it. And only get 50-some years?
Facts. That was planned. Thought out.
Very much so. Premeditated.
Facts.
In November of 1961, a wealthy doctor named Arthur Duperrault chartered a luxury yacht called the Bluebell to take he and his family from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to the Bahamas. Along with his family, which was Jean, his wife, his oldest son Brian, who was 14, Terry Jo, who was 11, and Renee, who was 7, Arthur also brought along Julian Harvey, who was a close friend of his that he had hired to be the captain of the ship. And Julian was going to bring along his wife, who was named Mary Dean. And so on November 8th, 1961, the Duperraults and the Harveys set sail on the Bluebell, and by all accounts, their trip was going extremely well. But on the 5th night of the cruise, Terry Jo was down in the sleeping quarters of the Bluebell when she woke up to the sound of stamping sounds and screaming coming from above. She was so scared about what could be going on up there that at first she didn't do anything. But eventually she summoned the courage, got out of her bunk, and she kind of slowly made her way up the stairs and poked her head out onto the deck. And immediately she sees that her family is lying on the ground. They're all deceased. As Terry Jo is frozen in terror, Julian Harvey comes running up to her and tells her to go back down into the sleeping quarters. And so, not knowing any better, she just turns around and runs back down to her bunk. But as she's sitting there, she sees that water is flooding into the Bluebell. She can't stay down here or she's going to drown. So Terry Jo goes back up the steps, she goes onto the main deck, and she sees Julian Harvey, who's standing over the edge of the boat. And she yells to him and says, "Are we sinking?" And he looks at her and he just says, "Yes." And then he promptly jumps over the railing and swims to the lifeboat that had detached from the Bluebell and was drifting away. He climbs onto it and takes off, abandoning her on the sinking ship. Unbeknownst to Terry Jo, was the reason the Bluebell was sinking in the first place was because of Julian Harvey. When he was hired to be the captain of the ship, he used this as an opportunity to bring his new wife out with him and then kill her and collect on her insurance policy.
Shut up.
Because in her life insurance policy, there was a clause where he would get double the amount of money if she died in the case of a freak accident.
Wow.
But it's speculated that while he was attacking her, one of the Duperraults had seen him doing it, and so in order to cover his tracks, he had turned on the Duperrault family. And so while it's not entirely clear why he didn't just finish the job with Terry Jo, it seems like when he jumped over the railing and took off with the lifeboat, he must have assumed that Terry Jo was going to sink with the rest of the family, and then there would be no more evidence, no more witnesses. So 11-year-old Terry Jo, as she's standing on this sinking ship, she snaps into action. She remembers seeing a cork float that was pinned up against one of the walls of the ship. And she runs over and she undoes it. She puts it on the water. She climbs on top of it just as the Bluebell sinks under the surface of the water and disappears. And so now she's just stranded out in the middle of the ocean. She's got no food, no water, no shelter from the sun on this little dinky cork float. Over the next couple of days, as she drifted along aimlessly in the ocean, her cork float would begin to disintegrate. And she would have to start positioning her body on the float so there wasn't much weight on it because it was basically beginning to sink. And the only position she could find that worked was by dangling her feet in the water. So she's half on this cork float, half of her body is in the water.
Wow.
And so what began happening is parrotfish began swimming up and biting her toes, her feet, and her legs, but she couldn't do anything about it. She couldn't put her legs on the cork board or it would sink. After 2 days of balancing precariously on this cork float, the parrotfish disappeared and a bunch of dolphins surrounded her. And later she would go on to say that this was the only part of this horrible ordeal where she felt some sort of comfort. These dolphins just swam around her and almost formed a protective barrier around her that kept the parrotfish away and kept other predators away from her. On November 16th, 1961, 84 hours after the Bluebell had sunk, a Greek freighter actually spotted Terry Jo. Amidst all the whitecaps, they were able to see this little girl on a float, and they drove over, and there she was. And initially, when they went down to try to get her, there was so many sharks swimming around her that they had to be very careful that they didn't accidentally knock her into the water. where she might be eaten by sharks. But eventually they were able to get Terry Jo into their basket and pulled her up onto the ship.
Crazy.
And she would make a full recovery.
Come on now.
As for Julian Harvey, he had made it back to shore and had told authorities that the Bluebell had caught on fire and that everyone had drowned except for him. You know, he had done his best to save them, but he was the only one who could get out.
Please.
And as luck would have it, he was literally in a police station giving information about what happened when the police were informed that Terry Jo had survived. And the police, they turn to Julian and they say, Terry Jo survived. She's in the hospital. She's going to make a recovery. And Julian was said to have gone totally ashen in the face and then kind of composed himself and said, why, that's wonderful. Julian quickly excused himself and fled to a Miami hotel. And the next day, he was found dead in his hotel room. This is the picture of Terry Jo that was taken by one of the Greek sailors right when they pulled up alongside her before they pulled her onto their ship. This image would soon appear in publications all over the world. Despite Terry Jo's horrifying ordeal, she would go on to live a very normal life and would have 6 children of her own. So that's going to do it, guys. Let me know what you thought of these 3 stories in the comments, and I will pin the best comment at the top of the comments section. If you...
That's crazy, bro.
Not you go, man.
For
You did all that
what?
and didn't get nothing out of it.
For really for what though?
For what? For something.
It was all pointless.
Huh? You took these people's lives. You brought your wife out, your new wife, to collect on a life insurance policy and still didn't get nothing from it.
So my
Death.
everybody's lives is gone for nothing.
For what? Sad. So sad.
Damn. She no family.
And then her parents gone.
Whole family.
Whole family, sibling, everybody gone.
For fucking no reason, bro.
And then you just leave me out here to fend for myself. Boy, I don't be out.
Sick ass individuals,
Facts,
bro.
Facts.
People are sick. Oh, damn. Hey, man. Y'all spam us up in the comments. Let us know how y'all feel about that. That's insane, bro. I'm just mind blown. Like, what the fuck? Like, are you serious? Are you really serious? Again, man, spam us up in the comments. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts about it down below. But until next time, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is
Sierra Nicole.
We are.
Kid and C.
We out.
Ain't no time to kick it, got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar, 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 dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me.